Welcome. My name is Karen Field Bolek, and this is lesson number 14 in my course, A Spiritual Path to True Love. In the last lesson, I talked about general attractiveness and how it differs from attracting a specific person. Also, how feeling inadequate is like harboring an emotional demon. Today, I want to talk more about emotional demons, not just feeling unattractive or otherwise inadequate, but also the demons attached to emotions like jealousy or loneliness. Emotional demons can do damage to your love life, but you don't have to let them. Even while you're feeling those feelings, there's a way to disempower the demons attached to them. The main thing you need to understand is that a feeling is just an internal experience, unless and until you let it out. The healthy way to let it out is to talk about it in a self-contained way, sharing what you feel with a trusted friend or counselor, or even just thinking it over carefully in a conscious way without dramatizing it. This allows you to process it and potentially grow. The unhealthy way to let it out is to start acting it out inappropriately around others. This is true whether you feel unattractive, not smart enough, not rich enough, or whether you feel lonely or jealous. It's only by acting out a negative feeling inappropriately that it takes on demonic power. Acting out this way makes people less attractive and definitely harder to be around. It includes acting needy, desperate, self-righteous, entitled, self-pitying, overly dramatic, or crazy to try to get what you want. Since acting out this way is kind of childish, you might wonder why adults would do it in some of their most important relationships. I believe it often has to do with not knowing a better way to resolve their underlying problem. For example, many overweight people feel unattractive or less attractive than they want to be. They can work to see themselves as attractive despite their weight problem, but until they can solve the central problem of being overweight, they may occasionally whine about it or act self-righteously indignant toward anyone who suggests anything negative about their weight. These are ways of acting out that make other people uncomfortable. Other times, people act out feelings because they don't even realize what they're feeling. For example, a person who feels unlovable deep inside may not even be aware they feel that way, but they'll act it out through self-put-downs and general negativity. Or consider people who were humiliated a great deal as a child. Often these people carry around that feeling of humiliation throughout their lives, and they usually try to push down the feeling until they stop feeling it. But the feeling is not gone, it's just hiding inside. Instead of feeling it, they take a certain pleasure in making other people feel it because that gives them a brief sense of relief. Often, a person with a humiliation demon will humiliate their partner on a regular basis to make the partner feel what they themselves don't want to feel. Of course, they may instead find another family member, such as a child, to pick on. You don't need a degree in Freudian psychology to understand this dynamic. The process is described clearly with simple cartoon illustrations in a book by Dr. John Gray called What You Feel You Can Heal, a book I would recommend. Deep feelings of inadequacy, such as feeling unattractive, not smart enough, or not good enough, can be difficult to resolve because inadequacy of any kind isn't completely self-determined. It's also socially constructed. That means that the people around us judge whether we're good enough or smart enough or attractive enough, and then we pick up on their opinions of us through their words, actions, and body language. We care more about the opinions of some people than others. But to feel attractive, you have to believe that other people whose opinions you respect perceive you that way. This starts in childhood. When you were young, If the people you cared about most repeatedly told you or treated you like you weren't good enough in one way or another, you probably assumed they were right. That's how feeling inadequate usually starts. As an adult, though, you have choices. You can act out your feelings or not, and you can get feedback from people who see you differently than your critics do. If you feel unattractive, you might either stop taking care of your appearance and let the demon win, or go overboard and focus too much on looking great as if to fight the demon that way. Similarly, if you feel stupid or just not smart enough, you might act it out by acting dumb or giving up on learning things, which allows the demon to define you. Or you could act out by becoming overly studious, constantly trying to prove to yourself and others that the demon is wrong. If you feel you're not morally good enough, you might put on a saintly appearance to the world while hiding and feeling ashamed of your imperfect but authentic self as a way of fighting that demon. Or you could live your life behaving badly because you've allowed the demon to define you. Whether you cave into any of these demons of inadequacy or fight against it, you're giving the demon the power to control you. The only way to take power away from your demon of inadequacy and empower yourself is by refusing to act it out and rejecting the impossible standards that were used against you to make you feel inadequate in the first place. You may need a therapist or at least a good set of friends to give you honest feedback based on more reasonable, more humane standards. You'll also need to redistance yourself from overly critical people, including whoever did this to you in the first place. Then you can accept yourself as human, redefine what it means to be good or smart or attractive, and work on yourself and your underlying issues until you get more positive feedback, both from your mirror and from people around you whose opinions you respect. A few years ago, I attended a Toastmasters public speaking organization function and met a very lovely woman, a woman I'll call Cheryl. Cheryl was in Toastmasters to improve her life through public speaking, and I had a few different conversations with her. At first, I noticed that she looked down quite a bit, even when she was giving a speech. Later, she confided that she had a hard time looking people in the eye when she talked to them because not only was she visually handicapped and ashamed of it, but her parents had always told her she was ugly. I was shocked, both because it's a cruel thing to say to a child and because I thought Cheryl looked lovely. Feeling ugly and being unable to see well had caused her so much shame over the years that she was afraid to even look to see people's reactions to her when they stood at close range where she could see them. However, after sharing this emotional story, Cheryl began to take action. Over time, I saw her start to make eye contact in conversations with me and others, and to glance at the audience when giving speeches. As she developed the courage to look up and saw that others were not at all repulsed by her appearance or handicap, her demon began to lose its grip on her. Another woman I once knew when we were both in group therapy, a woman I'll call Emily, was stunningly beautiful. So I was surprised one day in group to hear her talk about how ugly she felt. She had been raped at a young age by her father, and that made her feel ugly, a typical response among childhood rape victims, according to research from the American Counseling Association. I'm not sure of all the interventions Emily experienced, but certainly her therapist helped her see herself differently, because later on she came to the group all smiles and announced that she was beautiful. Everyone else in the group was like, no kidding. But for her, it was a transformative experience. No amount of just studying yourself in the mirror can change your opinion of your appearance, since opinions aren't fact-based. But being seen by someone else, someone that you trust who actually perceives your beauty or good looks, and naturally conveys their view of you, especially non-verbally, can help you see it in yourself. Another type of emotion that often breeds demons is jealousy. According to author and relationship expert Tristan Taormino, jealousy is really an umbrella term for a constellation of feelings including envy, competitiveness, insecurity, inadequacy, possessiveness, fear of abandonment, feeling unloved, and feeling left out. She also warns that until you identify which form of jealousy you're feeling, you won't be able to resolve it. Different forms of jealousy happen all the time, in families, at the workplace, among friends and neighbors, even between nations or peoples. In theory, we should all get past it, right? But in practice, a lot of people and a lot of groups of people will never get past their jealousies because they actually would rather spend their lives acting them out than cut their losses and move forward. One reason is that they're afraid of giving up and calling the relationship or the cause a loss would mean the death of one of their original dreams, and they'd rather dedicate the rest of their lives to the struggle than to let go of that dream. Another reason is they just haven't taken the next growth step they need to take in terms of self-love and loving other people. In reality, these people could let go of their drama and pursue their dream in another context, as I discussed in Lesson 12. But many people don't realize this. Acting out jealousy includes fuming and playing the victim, throwing tantrums of self-righteous anger and rage, and seeking revenge from small plots to embarrass the person who did them wrong, up to and including violence, murder, terrorism, and war. People become very attached to their angry dramas, and at root is a desire to seek justice wherever they feel unjustly treated. Although they often overlook or rationalize situations where they have treated others unjustly. From a spiritual standpoint, though, justice doesn't happen that way. It happens across lifetimes, not in the spirit of revenge or punishment, but through karma, life's teaching system for the soul. Any form of jealousy you may feel asks you to grow in love, whether it's developing greater self-love, the love of someone else, or both. Sometimes you need to become less self-centered and allow others to shine instead of always needing to win over them. Sometimes you need to give yourself more credit, even if the world around you doesn't, and realize that being good has nothing to do with surpassing others. Other times, jealousy asks you to either speak up for yourself more in your relationship or else walk away from it, especially when you feel unloved or left out too often. To stop acting out your jealous feelings, one approach is to verbalize it in a friendly conversation. If you can talk to someone you're jealous of without being overly emotional or accusatory, admit that you're a little bit jealous of them, and then mention why. You may find that your jealousy starts to dissipate as you build a friendship. In recent decades, the English language received a new term invented by a community of people in open or polyamorous relationships. That term is compersion. Compersion sounds similar to compassion, but it means more than that. According to Urban Dictionary, compersion is the opposite of jealousy. It refers to a feeling of joy when a loved one invests in and takes pleasure from another romantic or sexual relationship. In other words, they would say, if I love you, then it makes me happy to see you happy, even if you're getting some of your happiness through someone else. Compersion is only accessible to those who give up on trying to possess their partner or feel superior to everyone else, and who stop being worried about feeling left out or getting what someone else has. It requires a lot of trust in your partner or partners and a commitment to continue maturing. Although relationship authors like Tristan Taormino report that people in open relationships experience jealousy just as everyone else does, compersion is the attitude that can enable people to sometimes transcend their jealousy. For people who are single or monogamous, I think the goal is to work through jealousy whenever you feel it, using it as a springboard to grow further in love instead of using it as a club to beat up your partner or gain leverage. Personally, I believe the concept of compersion could also be brought into the mainstream in a broader sense. The sense of taking joy in your partner's happiness, even when you're not included in all of your partner's activities. This is a more common experience. For example, if you envy your partner's golf buddies or professional associations because they get more of his time than you do, a broader sense of compersion might involve being happy that he's happy on the golf course or at work instead of worrying about feeling left out. And if you do feel left out, the solution might be to start doing more things that you love, alone or with other people, to reestablish or strengthen your connection with the world more directly outside your relationship. Also, it's good to be grateful for the time you share instead of greedy about demanding more than your partner chooses to share with you. If you feel possessive of your partner and want to control everything she does, a broader sense of compersion might involve realizing that she'll be happier when she can go out with friends and have fun with other people and do more of the things she loves, even with others, so that you can enjoy her happiness when you're together again. But remember, compersion is not the only attitude that leads to personal growth or greater love, and it's not necessarily the most enlightened attitude for many situations. Feeling jealous is a sign that something needs to change, but it's up to you to determine what exactly needs to change. If your jealousy leads you to realize you no longer feel happy in your relationship, or maybe never really did, then striving for compersion is a joke. You might grow in love much better by loving yourself enough to break off the relationship and start putting yourself first in future relationships. Most of the time, acting jealous or needy or irresponsible is obviously undesirable and unattractive. Yet, these emotional demons can suddenly transform into fun-loving imps or nature spirits when acted out in the bedroom. Sex therapist and author Esther Perel, in her book Mating in Captivity, Unlocking Erotic Intelligence, points out that in sex, people often enjoy playing roles that are the flip side of their behavior in the rest of life. One example she offers is a hyper-responsible, controlling woman who's secretly thrilled by being sexually submissive. Admittedly, I cannot think of a way to treat feelings of inadequacy in a playful or sexy way, but I believe Perel's thinking can be extended to our understanding of possessiveness, as well as neediness, desperate loneliness, and even manipulation. In other words, by acting out these feelings and attitudes in sex with a partner who's really into it, both partners can feel renewed. Now, let's look more carefully at possessiveness. In some situations, possessiveness is natural and joyful. Children take pride in identifying my mommy and my daddy in a very possessive way. Similarly, family members of all ages may feel happy about belonging to their family. So it makes sense that a couple can have happy feelings of belonging to each other, possessing each other in a sense. Possessiveness is especially important when one person is responsible for protecting another. The possessiveness a parent feels toward a child is not just a point of pride, but a necessity for being able to step in and protect the child when they run out into the street or start running around with the wrong crowd. Similarly, some men feel that they want to protect their partner, inasmuch as being protective is part of their understanding of masculine love. Furthermore, either men or women may want to protect and control their partner if they feel their partner needs it, such as when their partner has a health condition. Controlling one another is a sensitive issue because people feel most loved when we're free to make our own choices. Ultimately, exerting control over a partner is risky and needs to be adjusted constantly to both partners' changing needs. Of course, control can be used for selfish persons, like when one partner decides to dominate and rule the other in an authoritarian way, as if that partner should be subservient. This is unhealthy from a spiritual standpoint because someone's free will is being disrespected. Nevertheless, in the bedroom, being possessive, controlling, and dominating can sometimes be a fun way of turning these emotional demons into emotional nature spirits or imps that communicate passionate love. Someone who feels lonely and acts needy or desperate on a date can seem repulsive, but acting out desperate neediness in lovemaking as people strive to become physically one with each other to overcome their loneliness can be a tremendously good experience. Being manipulated by a partner is usually angering in everyday life, but when one partner whispers certain words to manipulate, does a striptease, or acts cagey to make the other partner react, these manipulations are usually great fun. In summary, acting out emotional demons in a relationship makes people less attractive. No matter how much love and commitment you and your partner feel toward each other, if one of you starts acting out your emotional demons, the other one of you will feel less and less attracted and more burdened. On the other hand, you can disempower your emotional demons and even transform them into fun-loving imps or nature spirits in your private world of lovemaking. So, that's the lesson for today. For those of you who want to explore today's lesson further, I've listed some resources below. I hope you'll join me again next time for lesson number 15. There, I'll be talking about how to forgive through deep understanding, which will allow you to free yourself of your old emotional baggage. Bye for now.